Hi guys, today I come to you from Palmer College in Davenport, Iowa, and I'm actually standing in the Hall of Presidents, a pretty impressive hall. To stand here, you think about, the great presidents, the great speakers, the great leaders that have been here. I think where I feel most moved today is really to talk to our presidents about the future of chiropractic. As I've walked along the campus these last 2 days, and I've read a considerable amount of some of the green books and learned a lot more about the history of chiropractic and looked at photographs of B.J. Palmer and D.D. Palmer and David Palmer and learned more about the history of where we're at. I think I'm filled with a sense of their level of dedication and principle to the profession of chiropractic. And I don't even want to say profession. Really, I think the point is they were dedicated to a principle. It was once said that stand for something or fall for anything. And unfortunately, I believe that's where we are now globally as a profession. So my message to the presidents is this: unless we want to follow the same path as osteopathy did, if we want to get swallowed up as allopathic natural physicians, which is where I unfortunately think we're going, the principle and the philosophy of chiropractic will be forever lost. See, DD and BJ never denied the existence of other causes of diseases. When you read their words and you understand what their clear message was, they talked about 95% of all dis-ease was the result of the subluxation, or a loss of flow of innate within the body, the conduit of the nervous system, the tone of the nerves was greatly affected and thereby would not allow the full expression and illumination of the body, the host, by the life source of the brain. And that's important to use that terminology because those words are beautiful and they're unique in the description of what health is. They understood that nutrition, exercise, autosuggestion, toxins all played a role in the health of a human being. But there were already healthcare providers that understood and were providing care for that. What they found was a specific, a different, a unique discovery that caused a majority of the illness in the human body. They identified that the spine housed the nervous system and that by misaligning the spine, it greatly affected how healthy the individual would be, how long they would live. They found initially that by adjusting the spine, it would alleviate many of the diseases, the suffering that a human being had. But as time went on, as the philosophy was progressed, both by B.J. Palmer and Stevenson, along with other great minds, they realized that what they were actually developing was a way to describe our existence. That the way they proved the idea of the life source was to go right back to origin. What was matter? Matter is made from some source of energy that gives all matter form. And that matter then is animated by innate. And innate is another source of energy or force or intelligence that illuminates the body, that flows through the body and allows the body to work as it was intended. The job of a chiropractor is to ensure that the spinal health is maintained, corrected and maintained for the life of the individual so that the individual could live a long and healthy lifespan. That is the job of a chiropractor. Now, if you want to add to that nutrition and exercise and detoxification and autosuggestion, what have you, I'm certainly not saying that that doesn't have any place in wellness care. But what is unique to chiropractic is the adjustment and the philosophy of chiropractic, the existence of universal intelligence and innate intelligence. In a time when our presidents now are consistently removing the name chiropractic from the university, or the word straight from university, it's sad that I look back in history and I walk the halls. I'm actually right up the hall from the radio station that B.J. Palmer started. You know, he lived life boldly. He didn't call it the health radio station. He didn't call it the Davenport radio station. He didn't choose words that were non-descriptive of his principle and his discipline. What did he call it? World of Chiropractic, WOC. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking for me to look at a man who spent so much of his life and his dedication to move the principle of chiropractic forward, have his principles diluted to such a degree now that not only are we removing the name of chiropractic, but our leaders in the profession and our political leaders in the profession are unwilling to compromise, are unwilling to join forces, are arguing over simple words to describe what we do as chiropractors. And I see too often chiropractic offices not even use the word chiropractor. I see too often the students even walking here through Palmer, and I ask them questions. Do they know who Fred Barge is? Do they know who Jim Chestnut is? Tell me a little bit about what you've learned as to the philosophy of chiropractic. It was actually quite sad. And I realized that we have diluted our message so much that it's no wonder that the public has no understanding of what we do as a profession. The foundation, the fundamental principles of what we do as a profession has to be the philosophy of chiropractic. That means embracing universal and innate intelligence, identifying the idea that the nervous system controls all the functions of the human body, and that by misaligning the spine, by subluxating the spine, by causing a change in tone to the nerves, the body will lose the flow of innate. Therefore, the body will no longer have the ability to recognize itself, in the words of Fred Barge, and therefore we will develop a state of dis-ease where the body leans more towards sickness, disease, and illness. That has to be our founding principle. Anything else added onto that is fine, but that has to be our foundation and principle. That has to be what a patient understands when you work on them, when you bring them into your office. If it's anything less than that, we are nothing but allopathic natural practitioners. And why go to a chiropractor when a physical therapist or a massage therapist or anyone else can do the same thing that we do? What they knew, they being Dee Dee and B.J. Palmer knew very well, was that it was the uniqueness of chiropractic. The words, the language they used to describe our profession that was passed on the state and federal level. They knew that, how important those words were, because that gave us a unique and separate entity towards healthcare. And those are, my message at the end here is that our presidents and our leaders need to recognize that at a time when science is doing nothing but proving exactly what our fathers discovered through philosophical means and through clinical evaluation. At a time when the scientific pendulum is moving towards a much greater degree of certainty towards the existence of innate, and that innate's ability to flow through the body is directly related to the health of the individual, we as the profession are abandoning that. And that will allow us a future that is weak. There'll always be a few guys like me, a few principled chiropractors, viewed almost as a freak, seeing hundreds of people in a day, and people traveling from all over that state or further to receive care in my office. There'll always be those few. But if we're ever to take over healthcare, if we're ever to do justice to what these guys, these men and women did for us initially, when you look at Mabel, Palmer, and so forth, you look at the lives that they fully dedicated, gladly, to move a principle forward to help mankind. We owe them a lot more, and we certainly have not lived up to that sacred trust. Until next week, guys, I want you to practice with courage and certainty, and may innate flow from above down, inside out.
My best friend gave the best.